There was once a boy named Armin, 15 years old, eyes full of dreams, but every goal he set crumbled in front of his laziness. He wanted to get fit. He quit after 3 workouts. He wanted to start a YouTube channel. He posted 1 video and stopped. He wanted to wake up early. He hit snooze every single morning. One evening, after another day wasted in scrolling and regrets, he stumbled upon a book, The Art of Self-Discipline by Kimberly Olson. He opened it half-heartedly. But by the time he reached chapter 1, something inside him shifted. This wasn't just a book. It was a mirror, a wake-up call, a roadmap. And this is that roadmap. We begin where Kimberly Olson starts, with the truth. Self-discipline is not a trait you're born with. It's a skill, a muscle, something you build. She writes, "You don't have to be the most talented, the smartest, or the luckiest person in the room. If you're disciplined, you will win." And here lies the foundation of the entire book. Success is not about motivation. It's about consistency. Kimberly doesn't give you fluffy theories. She gives you systems. She breaks down the myth that discipline is about punishment or self-denial. No, it's about freedom. The freedom to stay focused when distractions scream. The freedom to say no to what you want now for what you want most. The freedom to trust yourself. She makes one thing clear from the start. Willpower is not infinite. Relying on motivation is like chasing clouds, but creating habits, structure, and discipline, that's building the ground you stand on. The first step, she says, is awareness. Ask yourself, where am I lacking discipline? Is it your health, your time, your finances? Do you procrastinate, overeat, scroll endlessly, spend impulsively? Kimberly teaches that self-discipline starts with clarity. She introduces a powerful practice. Audit your life. Write down where your energy is going, what your routines look like, and how often you're reacting instead of leading. Because you can't fix what you won't face. Then comes one of the most important messages of the book. You are not lazy, you are overwhelmed, and in most cases, disorganized. When your day isn't structured, your brain becomes a battlefield. Decision fatigue kicks in. You feel guilty, stuck, and unmotivated. But Kimberly shows you how to take control, one brick at a time. She gives you a formula. Discipline equals vision plus routine minus excuses. Let's break that down. Vision. You need to know why you're doing it. Not just I want to get fit, but I want to feel confident in my body again. Not I want to study more, but I want to be proud of the life I'm building. Routine. Discipline lives in structure. Morning routines, evening rituals, daily wins. These are the gears that move the machine. Excuses. These are the enemies you must silence. The I'm tired, the just one more scroll. The I'll start tomorrow. Discipline is choosing progress over perfection, doing it even when you don't feel like it. And then, Kimberly introduces a question that changes everything. What would the disciplined version of me do? Ask yourself this daily. In every decision, would they hit snooze or get up? Would they binge Netflix or read 10 pages? Would they complain or take action? Because every moment is a vote. And with every action, you're casting a vote for the person you're becoming. This isn't about pressure, it's about power. Self-discipline is the foundation of a powerful life. And Kimberly gives us the tools, not just to understand it, but to live it. Part 2, Building the Habit Engine. Armin kept reading. He couldn't believe how much of his life was running on autopilot. Habits he never consciously chose, but still obeyed. Wake up, check phone, feeling stressed, eat junk, feeling bored, scroll. Kimberly writes, "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." That hit him hard. It meant his success wasn't about motivation bursts, it was about the little things, the boring things, the things nobody sees. And that's exactly where she takes us next. How to build habits that build you back. She starts with a truth most people ignore. Habits are identity-driven. People say, I want to read more. But the disciplined person says, I am a reader. People say, I want to work out. But the disciplined person says, I am someone who doesn't skip workouts. Kimberly explains, every action you take is a vote for the person you're becoming. You're not just flossing, you're becoming someone who takes care of their health. You're not just journaling, you're becoming someone who processes thoughts clearly. She writes, discipline isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters without negotiation. Then she teaches her habit formation formula, simple, powerful, and practical. Start small. Don't commit to 1 hour at the gym. Start with 5 push-ups. Don't aim for 30 pages of reading. Start with 1 page. Why? Because consistency builds momentum. Momentum builds belief. And belief builds identity. Stack your habits. Pair a new habit with something you already do. After I brush my teeth, I'll drink a glass of water. After I make coffee, I'll write down my goals. This reduces resistance. You don't need to find time, or you just attach it to time that already exists. Make it easy. Set yourself up to win. Want to eat healthy? Prep your meals. Want to read? Keep the book beside your pillow. Want to stop scrolling? Log out. Delete the app. Kimberly says, discipline isn't about being stronger than temptation. It's about designing a life where temptation loses its power. But what about bad habits? She addresses that too. With no sugarcoating, she writes, every time you give in to a bad habit, you're strengthening a version of you that's working against your goals. To break them, she gives a 3-step plan. Identify the trigger. Is it stress, boredom, a specific time of day? Interrupt the pattern. If you always check your phone after work, replace that with a walk. If you snack late at night, brush your teeth early. Replace it with a rewarding habit. Don't just remove, replace. Because your brain needs to win. And if you don't give it a healthy reward, it'll go back to the old one. Kimberly's writing is like tough love. Clear, director, no excuses. She says, discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want now. And that choice, it happens in your habits. Armin got it. It wasn't about overhauling his life. It was about small wins. A 10-minute workout, a journal entry, sleeping on time, and every small win made the next one easier. Because discipline is contagious, absolutely. Here's Pakshan. Part 3. Of the Art of Self-Discipline audiobook-style summary by Kimberly Olson. This section now shifts into time mastery, focus, and eliminating distractions, the real enemies of disciplined living. The storytelling tone continues, professionally woven with emotional weight and practical wisdom strictly from the book. Part 3. Mastering Time, Focus, and Distractions. Armin had built a few habits now. Small wins, he felt better, clearer. But there was one thing he still couldn't figure out. Time. Where was it going? Why did he still feel busy but unproductive? Kimberly answers this directly. She writes, it's not about having time, it's about making time for what matters. And for that, she hands us the next layer of self-discipline. Mastering focus. Discipline isn't just about what you do, it's about what you protect yourself from. And the number one threat? Distractions. Kimberly calls them time vampires. They look small, but they suck the life out of your goals. She teaches, if you don't control your schedule will control you. That means no more reactive days, no more waking up and letting the world decide what you do. Instead, she introduces the time block method. A simple yet powerful structure. 1. Plan your day the night before. Not just a to-do list, but when you'll do it. Work in focused sprints. Kimberly recommends 45 to 60 minutes of deep work, followed by a short break. No phone, no multitasking, just you and the task. 3. Schedule distractions. Yes, she says schedule them. Want to scroll? Fine. Set a timer. Want to watch YouTube? Cool, but do it when you decide, not when your impulse does, because the real power isn't in avoiding distractions forever. It's in being in control. Kimberly writes, your brain wasn't built to switch tasks constantly. Every time you multitask, you lose time, energy, and discipline. And that's the next truth Armin had to face. Multitasking is a myth. You're not being productive, you're being distracted at scale. So he tried it. He turned his phone off during study time, used a timer, set clear start and end points. At first it was hard, but within a week, his brain felt quieter, less mental clutter, more clarity, more confidence. And that's what Kimberly promises. Self-discipline creates mental peace. But what about time excuses? You know the ones. I don't have time to work out. I'm just too busy right now. Maybe next week I'll start. Kimberly destroys those with one line. If it's important, you'll find a way. If it's not, you'll find an excuse. She challenges readers to audit their time. Track your entire day. Where are the leaks? How much time goes to scrolling, overthinking, idle conversations? Once you know where your time is going, you take your power back. And then comes the mindset shift that hits deep. You are not too busy. You are undisciplined with your time. That's not an insult, that's an invitation. Because time is not your enemy, it's your ally. When you learn to manage it, you no longer chase goals with panic. You walk toward them with focus. By now, Armin's days were starting to look different. He wasn't just reacting, he was creating a routine, a rhythm, a mindset. And he was beginning to understand what Kimberly meant when she wrote, "Discipline is not about control, it's about freedom. The freedom to design your life on purpose." Part 4. Emotional discipline and mental resilience. One day, Armin slipped. A stressful phone call, a wave of anxiety, and just like that, his routine collapsed. No workout, no journaling, back to junk food and scrolling. He stared at his screen that night, feeling defeated. But Kimberly saw this moment coming. That's why she wrote an entire section titled, "Discipline is not destroyed by failure, it's tested by it." She explains, you will fall, you will slip. But what defines your discipline is not your ability to be perfect, it's your ability to return. This is where she introduces emotional discipline, the power to make decisions that align with your goals even when your emotions scream otherwise. It's not about suppressing emotions, it's about managing them. She writes, you can feel fear and still move forward. You can feel tired and still show up. Discipline begins when your feelings end. And that means this, stop waiting to feel like it, because that day rarely comes. Kimberly dives deep into the thought-emotion-action cycle. A thought appears. This is too hard. It creates an emotion, frustration or doubt. You act, you quit, or delay, or numb it with distractions. But what if you interrupted that cycle? What if, when the thought appeared, you questioned it instead of obeying it? That's exactly what she teaches, cognitive discipline. Challenge the lie, reframe the story. Instead of, this is hard, say, this is making me stronger. Instead of, I failed, say, I'm learning how to rise. Because your brain believes what you repeat. And repetition is the engine of identity. Next, she tackles emotional triggers, the invisible landmines that sabotage discipline, stress, boredom, loneliness, overwhelm. She says, you must know your emotional patterns the way a pilot knows turbulence, so you can fly through them without crashing. And for that, she offers resilience rituals, daily habits to anchor you emotionally no matter what life throws at you. Morning routine, a sacred space before the world invades your mind. Daily wins journal, write down 3 things you did right every day, mindful breathing. Just 2 minutes, inhale clarity, exhale chaos. These aren't just feel-good habits, they're armor. Because when life shakes you, your rituals hold you. Kimberly doesn't pretend life is perfect. She writes, discipline doesn't mean you avoid storms. It means you build the mental muscle to walk through them without letting them destroy you. For Armin, that meant one thing, get back up. So he did. The next morning, no phone. He sat up, wrote in his journal, 10 deep breaths, 10 push-ups, a glass of water. And something shifted. He didn't need perfection. He needed resilience. Part 5. Discipline in the body, food, movement, and physical mastery. Armin didn't realize how much discipline lived in his body. He was journaling, showing up, doing the mindset work. But his energy was crashing, his focus cloudy. Why? He was skipping meals, barely moving, running on caffeine and quick carbs. And Kimberly saw this coming. She writes, you cannot be mentally strong if you're physically depleted. Discipline isn't just a mental muscle, it's built in your sleep, your movement, your meals. The body is where discipline shows up first. She starts with food, not a diet plan, a mindset. She calls it fuel versus fixation. Most people eat to fix something, boredom, stress, emotions. But the disciplined eat to fuel their purpose. Kimberly shares, Your food choices are either giving you power or taking it away. So she teaches you to flip the script. Before you eat, ask, is this feeding my mission? Not your craving, not your fatigue, your mission. It's not about being perfect, it's about being intentional. Then comes the second pillar, movement. Kimberly doesn't say you need to train like an athlete, but she is clear. Movement is not optional for the disciplined life. Because when you move your body, you are clear mental fog. Release emotional tension signal to your brain. We are alive and in charge. Even 20 minutes a day, a walk, a stretch, some weights, something. She writes, discipline is easier when your body feels strong. Because your body is not separate from your mind, it's the foundation of it. She also dives into sleep, and this hits hard. You can't out-discipline exhaustion. You think staying up to work harder is noble, but it's actually sabotage. Without rest, your willpower crashes, your cravings increase, your irritability spikes. She says, rest is not weakness, rest is readiness. So she gives you the 3 golden rules. Protect your evening. No screens 30 minutes before bed, same sleep schedule, even on weekends. Discipline loves consistency. Create a shutdown ritual, something small that tells your brain, we're done for today. By now, Armin started changing how he treated his body. He didn't go extreme, he just chose better. A walk instead of endless scrolling. A full glass of water before coffee. A protein-packed breakfast instead of sugary cereal. 8 hours of sleep, even if it meant saying no to late-night distractions. And the next week, he felt different, more alert, more in control, more solid. Kimberly was right. You cannot build a disciplined life on an undisciplined body. Part 6, Breaking the Cycle of Procrastination. It was a Monday morning. Armin sat at his desk. His to-do list was ready. He stared at the screen and opened YouTube instead. Just 5 minutes. One video turned into 5. Then guilt crept in, then stress, then avoidance. Sound familiar? Kimberly calls this the discipline spiral, a loop of delay, guilt, and escape. She writes, procrastination isn't laziness, it's a coping mechanism. You're not avoiding the task, you're avoiding the feeling tied to it. So what's the real enemy? Discomfort. And procrastination is how we try to run from it. That hard conversation, avoided, that workout, delayed, that one big goal, buried under small, easy tasks that feel productive but mean nothing. Kimberly puts it sharply. You're not behind because you're unmotivated. You're behind because you become addicted to comfort. And the only way out, face the discomfort and move anyway. She introduces the 2-minute rule. It's simple but brutal in its honesty. If it takes less than 2 minutes, do it now. No debate, no delay, no perfection. And this rule trains your brain to act without waiting to feel like it. Because as Kimberly says, action is the cure. Motivation is a myth. You don't think your way into discipline, you move your way into it. Then comes her battle-tested tactic, the power hour. 1 hour a day, no distractions, no excuses, one task, fully focused. She writes, if you give me 1 hour of focused effort a day, I'll show you a new life in 30 days. It's not about time, it's about attention. And if you stack enough power hours, you become unstoppable. Kimberly also breaks down the 3 lies of procrastination we tell ourselves. I work better under pressure. Truth, you've trained yourself to panic productivity. That's not mastery, that's survival. I'm just not feeling it today. Truth, feelings aren't leaders, you are. I'll do it later. Truth, later is where your dreams go to die. Armin started small. He set a timer for 10 minutes. Just start. He blocked social media, removed temptation. He celebrated progress, not perfection. And the shift, suddenly he wasn't chasing discipline, he was becoming it. Kimberly ends the chapter with this. You don't rise to the level of your dreams, you fall to the level of your habits. And procrastination is a habit you must break every single day. Part 7. The Discipline of Long-Term Commitment. It had been 3 weeks. Armin had been consistent, waking up early, eating clean, avoiding distractions, taking action. But now, the motivation had faded. The excitement was gone, no praise, no breakthrough, just silence. He started asking, why am I even doing this? Kimberly knew this moment well. She calls it the discipline dip, that valley between where you started and where you want to be. And she says, this is where most people quit, not because they're weak, but because they were addicted to results. Discipline isn't about quick wins, it's about staying when there's no win in sight. So how do you keep going? Kimberly teaches the power of identity-based goals over outcome-based goals. Most people say, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to make $10,000. I want to hit 100,000 subscribers. But she writes, discipline doesn't respond to numbers. It responds to identity. So instead, you ask, who am I becoming? I'm the kind of person who eats clean. I'm the kind of person who creates every day. I'm the kind of person who shows up no matter what. This shift is everything, because when your identity leads, results eventually follow. She also breaks down the 3 C's of long-term discipline: clarity, know your why. Not just what you want, but why you want it. She says, a clear why can withstand a hard how. Consistency, show up when it's boring. Kimberly writes, discipline is not about doing more, it's about doing it again. Compounding, small actions stacked daily. She reminds you, success isn't sexy, it's small, smart, repeated acts of discipline. Armin started changing how he looked at progress. He stopped checking the scale. He stopped chasing quick wins. He focused on who he was becoming. And the magic? Momentum returned, not from hype, from habit. Because Kimberly says, motivation is what gets you started. Discipline is what keeps you becoming. Then she shares a warning. Watch out for comparison. It's one of the biggest killers of long-term commitment. You see someone ahead of you and think, I should be there by now. I must be doing something wrong. But she shuts that down hard. You're not late, you're just early in the process. She tells you to zoom in on your own lane, focus on the step, not the staircase, and that's how you last. Part 8. The role of environment and relationships in self-discipline. Armin had done the work. He had learned the strategies, built his habits, had clarity about his goals. But there was something he hadn't considered: his environment. At home, his desk was cluttered with distractions. His phone was always nearby. His friends didn't understand his new routine. Every hangout turned into late nights. His family, loving, but not supportive of his new focus. He felt torn. Kimberly knew the truth. You cannot out-discipline a toxic environment. She writes, the people and places you surround yourself with will either push you forward or hold you back. So what can you do? First, you start by cleaning up your physical environment. Your workspace needs to be a place of productivity, not clutter. Your phone should be out of reach during focus times. Your home should reflect the focus you want in your life. Kimberly shares a simple rule. If you don't control your environment, it will control you. But it's not just about the physical space, it's about who you spend time with. Second, your relationships. Kimberly is clear. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Armin had a decision to make. His friends were amazing, but they weren't where he wanted to be. They were caught up in distractions. They didn't prioritize health. They didn't dream the way Armin was learning to. And while they weren't bad people, they were not helping him get closer to his goals. So Kimberly encourages, choose your circle wisely. If you can't find the people you need, be the person others need. Kimberly goes deep on peer influence. She says, you cannot rise to a higher level of discipline if you're constantly surrounded by people who want to keep you stuck in your old habits. It's a tough pill to swallow, but she offers hope. Your environment doesn't need to be perfect, but it needs to support your success. Start by making small shifts. If your friends are binge-watching shows, take a break to read or walk instead. Find online communities or mentors who align with your vision. Cultivate relationships that challenge you, not just comfort you. Armin decided to change who he spent his time with. He didn't abandon his friends, but he found new groups that supported his growth, and as a result, his focus sharpened, his energy increased, his momentum grew. In this section, Kimberly also teaches the 3 types of relationships you need. The supporter, people who encourage your vision. The mentor, people who've walked the path and can guide you. The peer, people who are on the same journey as you, pushing each other forward. Armin now realized the importance of each of these. He needed people who would uplift him and not just cheer him on, but hold him accountable. Kimberly ends this chapter with a challenge. Change your environment. change your life. Part 9. Advanced Mindset. Shifts for Unshakable Discipline. It had been months since Armin began his journey. He had transformed his environment. He had crafted solid habits. He had built his support system. But still, something felt missing. At times he'd slip. At times he'd lose focus. At times his mind would resist. Then he stumbled across a profound realization. Your mind is the gatekeeper of your discipline. And as Kimberly writes, discipline isn't just about what you do, it's about what you think. Armin had been operating from a mindset of scarcity. He thought, there's never enough time. Success takes too long. I have to rush. But Kimberly introduces a key shift, abundance mindset. She says, when you have an abundance mindset, you know there's enough. Enough time, enough resources, enough energy. You stop operating from fear, you stop rushing, you stop feeling that there's not enough of anything. Instead, you act with patience, with certainty, with confidence. And once you make that shift, your discipline deepens. The second mindset shift is growth mindset. Armin was often tempted to stop when things didn't go perfectly. One bad day would make him doubt his entire progress. Kimberly teaches, growth doesn't happen on a straight path. It's a jagged, messy, beautiful journey. She writes, when you have a growth mindset, setbacks become lessons, failures become feedback, pain becomes progress. The moment you embrace this, failure is no longer an enemy. It becomes the very thing that strengthens your discipline. But then comes the ultimate shift, the discipline paradox. Armin had learned to take action. He had learned to build habits. He had learned to focus. But Kimberly shows him and you a surprising truth. You don't need to force yourself to be disciplined. You need to learn how to enjoy discipline. It's about finding joy in the process. When you love what you do, discipline becomes effortless. It's not a must anymore. It's a want. This shift opens a powerful truth. Discipline isn't about being rigid. It's about finding the flow of consistency. When Armin realized this, he felt a weight lift off his shoulders. He was no longer chasing perfection. He was chasing progress. Kimberly's advice on self-talk rounds out this section. She emphasizes, what you say to yourself matters more than what anyone else says to you. She recommends using empowering statements daily. I am disciplined. I am consistent. I am resilient. This mental practice, Kimberly claims, strengthens your mind and fortifies your discipline. You stop doubting and start doing. The final mindset lesson, embrace the journey. Kimberly says, you cannot force discipline, but you can choose to love the process. Once you fall in love with the process, discipline doesn't feel like a grind. It feels like purpose. Part 10. The secret to finishing what you start. Armin was now accustomed to the daily grind of discipline. He had learned the importance of his environment. He had cultivated relationships that pushed him forward. He had shifted his mindset. But there was one thing still hanging over him. Finishing. He had started projects before and never followed through. He had ideas, dreams, plans. But the end, he'd often lose steam, he'd fizzle out, he'd abandon things halfway. Kimberly knew the struggle, and she wasn't just talking about completing tasks. She was talking about finishing strong, the last 10%, the hardest part where most people quit. The key to finishing is commitment, and commitment isn't about motivation. Motivation comes and goes, but commitment, it's a decision. Kimberly writes, discipline is the ability to commit, no matter how difficult the journey becomes. When Armin realized this, he found his breakthrough. She introduces a concept called the 90% rule. Most people start things with great excitement, but the final 10% is what separates the successful from the unsuccessful. It's the last hour of work when you're tired. It's the last mile when you're exhausted. It's the last push when your mind says, just quit. But Kimberly teaches, that last 10% is where the magic happens. It's the part where you finish strong. It's the difference between talking about your dreams and actually living them. Armin applied this to his own work. He committed to finishing. He took small actions toward completion each day. And suddenly, he realized the secret to consistency wasn't just showing up. It was finishing what you start. Kimberly also stresses the power of rituals in completion, creating small, consistent habits that guide you to the finish line. She recommends having a specific end ritual. This could be a moment of reflection at the end of the day. It could be a sense of accomplishment when a task is completed. It could be a personal reward that signals the end of a cycle. Armin created his own ritual. Each time he completed a project, no matter how small, he celebrated. He paused, he reflected, and he felt proud. And then there's the importance of accountability. Kimberly points out, having someone to finish with makes the journey easier. Find someone who will hold you accountable to the end. This doesn't mean checking in with them constantly. It means knowing that someone is there, waiting for you to finish. She also speaks on the importance of celebrating small wins. We often rush to the next task, the next goal, without taking a moment to recognize how far we've come. Armin learned to celebrate the small steps, not just the big victories. At the end of the day, Kimberly says, "The secret to discipline is simple. Start, show up, stay, and finish." With that final principle, Armin felt the full circle of his discipline. It wasn't about being perfect. It wasn't about being motivated all the time. It was about being consistent, building the right habits, and finishing what he started. As Kimberly wraps up the book, she leaves the reader with one final thought. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be, so build it. And that's the end of our summary of The Art of Self-Discipline by Kimberly Olson. The journey doesn't stop here, though. Each day you can put these principles into action and see your own transformation.